Have you ever had a moment that you felt like maybe we shouldn't have moved here, or was this the right choice? Or do you feel like even despite everything that happened, the ups and downs, you're glad to be here?
The me that I was 6 months ago no longer exists. And now I'm still learning how to quote unquote fill that void.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Beyonder the podcast. I'm your host, V. And in Beyonder the podcast, we talk about going beyond borders, not just country borders, but also inner limitations. And with my guests, I talk about inner and outer journeys. And today, I have my favorite guest of all with me here in my little podcast studio, my husband. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And today we're actually going to have a conversation about our first 6 months in Sydney, being back in Australia, because we both have lived here before. And if you have listened to our previous episodes, you know how we met. If not yet, I will link it in the show notes so you can check that out as well. And I thought now, because it has been 6 months now since we've arrived, it's a beautiful time for us to reflect and share our experiences, how we've managed the last 6 months being back here in Sydney, the ups and downs. And just to start on a positive note, what do you feel like is the most fun thing or the highlight for you since we've been back?
I think reconnecting with friends, but just being in a place that just like somehow heals my soul in certain aspects and just re-experience everything with you. That's really nice. And it doesn't have to be a big thing, It's just the small moments, the mundane things that lately I've realized that are really the fabric of life.
Yeah, I agree with that. Think it's hard to just pick one moment that I'm like, okay, this is my highlight so far. I think for me, it's also a combination of reconnecting with the friends we already knew here. Also, just
Making new ones as well.
yeah, also making new friends, just walking around in the city. And for me as well, I love to go on hikes more than you do. So just enjoying, like those beautiful coastal walks here and looking over the ocean. And as you said, those mundane small things. Even now, what I do mostly every morning, I just make my warm cup of cacao. I sit on the balcony in this comfy egg chair and I just close my eyes and I feel the sunshine, like the morning sun. And I just listen to the birds. And there are all those beautiful tropical birds that I haven't heard before. And I'm just, taking that in. And even a small moment like that can already be a highlight for me of my day.
That's true. And not to get cheesy here, but it's also like really nice to see you experience that and feel certain things through your eyes. Because now that you were just talking about that, it was like you were glowing. And that's beautiful.
Well, we can be cheesy here on this podcast. I mean, if you're watching the video version, you can even see that we are wearing matching outfits. It was not necessarily the plan, but it happens all the time. So just bear with us.
Hey, don't mess with what looks good.
And if you look back on this move to Australia, this the second time that we've both moved, and when you think about your first move, is it different? Do you feel like it's a different experience now, perhaps because it's the second time, or perhaps now you're older or we're together?
I think it's a mix of everything. When I first moved, it was just me. I didn't have a lot to worry about, and I was younger, I was very conscious of a lot of things, but still, in a very naive way. And I was just like, oh, I'm going and always on go mode and let's do this and let's celebrate that. And yeah, let's go out and yeah, bottoms up and do all of that stuff, like I really never thought about consequences and things like that. But also when you're in a relationship, everything changes, right? And for me, it changed for the better. You helped me grow and ground me you know, and we make each other better in every single way. And I think that When we decided to move this time, like, first of all, I was in a really bad place. I was depressed and all that. And I think now we approached this with a lot more care, a lot more thoughts, and thought about the future and the finish line and how we want to proceed. So it's completely different. Also because we're not the same people. You know, when I first moved, I didn't expect to meet you and just like enjoying the life to like the best of my abilities at that moment. And then when we met, there was like game over as well. So for me, it was like, again, not to make it cheesy, but I don't remember life without you and I don't want to go back. So yeah, like these moves was instrumental for our growth, for our relationship, for our inner spaces as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I was also, in a way, a different person. Of course, I'm still the same person, but you grow a lot over those years. And the first time when I moved to Sydney, I was in a job, in a corporate job. I was working
I
full time.
love that.
So I was also in a completely different phase of my life, right? I was still very much working on my corporate career and working hard. And this time, I have much more freedom with my own business. So it's in that sense already a completely different experience for me. At that time, I really had to manage everything. You know, when I wanted to enjoy living in Sydney, it had to be in the weekends or in the evenings. And sometimes I was just exhausted. And I think now I have a much better work life balance than I had at that time. So, in that sense, it makes a big difference in how I experience living here. And I think, besides that, as well, what you said, just moving here as a couple, of course, is a completely different experience than last time when I moved here, literally across the world without knowing anyone. And it's
Really brave.
yeah, part of it is very empowering, of course, but part of it is also very scary. And I think this time with our move, I didn't feel scared because we were together. We already knew the city in a way. So it was going back to something familiar, even though it will always be different. Yeah, maybe the scary part of this move was just leaving everything behind again, because I think that's something you never get used to just take that step.
Mm.
And as you said, we were both not feeling that great before we moved. So it was also really something like we were really craving that change and craving that growth
Yeah.
and to be in an environment that could really lift us up. So I think that's really, yeah, one of the biggest shifts. And yeah, every move is different in
Yeah.
that way. I mean, you also have moved many times already to many different places. For me, this time was the fifth time. So we have, yeah, looking back, different experience moving to different places. And I think every time you are in a way the same person, but at the same time you're also different. Like you take yourself with you wherever you go, as I always like to say, but
Mhm.
you also have all those previous experiences
Yeah.
already with you that you can build on, right? You already
Yeah.
have a strong foundation.
I have a little question for you based on something that you said, like about the fear. Because not even a question, it's just a realization that for me, I realized that in all the times that I moved and even coming here before and stuff, like I didn't know fear or it was something that I just put behind. I think all the excitement, all the possibilities were always bigger, always like trumping the bad stuff. Did you ever feel that way?
Yeah, it was definitely always, the excitement was always higher than the fear. I think when I talk about fear or being scared, it's just that little part of me that was like, oh my God, am I
Yeah.
really doing this?
Yeah.
And yeah, you really step into the unknown,
Hmm.
right? And also just with leaving everything behind, I think that's a part that is scary. But for me, yeah, always the excitement was always much higher. And when you think about your emotions, like excitement and fear are very close to each other in how you
Hmm.
feel it in your body. So I think sometimes it's also just this mix of emotions that you feel like, am I
Yeah.
scared now? Or am I just excited? Or is it
Yeah.
both at the same time?
Can I tell you a secret? For me, most of the time, like the fear, like that, oh my gosh moment, like, what am I doing? It comes right after they close the door on the plane. And I have the, oh my gosh, can I get out? Is this the right thing? And then like I fall asleep. And then I'm excited because I wake up in a different place.
Yeah, at that time. I mean, it's good that you have it at that moment because
I know.
you cannot change it anymore.
I know it's ridiculous, but it is. Like I remember these analogies. Even this time, like I did feel it. Of course, the one thing that changes all the time is that, I mean, it's constant, but changes anyways, that you always leave people behind. And, with us getting older, our people getting older as well, that makes sometimes things a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
But I still think that it's the bravest thing is to still do it. I don't want to stop myself because of the fears that I have. So sometimes things will happen, and as you know, things happened, but I think that I'm still proud for being brave and doing the difficult things and moving to a place where I find that we do better.
Yeah, yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that because if we also talk about fear, I think that has always been the most difficult part for me. And maybe a fear that I always carry with me. And I think a lot of people have, even if you don't live in a different country, like the fear of losing someone you love. And
Yeah.
I think especially when you are far away from family and friends, it becomes even harder. And then actually, yeah, that even came true for us recently. I think this is one of the most difficult parts about living abroad is losing someone. It's difficult anyway, but I
Yeah.
think when you are far away from family, it adds extra layer.
So my dad passed away very sudden. You know that he was not sick. In fact, feel like he was living his best life. But I didn't have a chance to say goodbye or to even say, hey, daddy, I miss you. All of that, and then being so far, it's really complicated to handle grief in the same way that people that are close do. I still feel very suspended. Sometimes I try not to think about him, but he comes to my mind every day. Whether it's if I'm drinking coffee and remember how he always gave me the spoon or something silly that he would say. But I've come to realize that so much of who I am, it's because of him. And yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think what you said, when you go through a grieving process, when you have people close, you can support each other. And of course, we could support each other, but you also want to be with the rest of your family. And
Yeah.
we didn't have that much time to grieve together until we had to travel back to Australia. So, in that sense, being here adds a level of complexity. And for the listeners, if you want to know more about this story, also what happened actually when we were on our way from Australia to Portugal, when we received the news, I recorded a separate solo episode about the whole story because we actually got stuck in Dubai and a lot of stuff happened. It's too much to go into right now, but I will link it in the show notes as well. So if you are interested to know the whole story about that, you can listen to that one as well. What do you think has been maybe something you've learned through this process about yourself or about grief?
I guess I'm still learning. I'm still learning to cope. I don't know how to explain, but the me that I was 6 months ago no longer exists. And it's not because we are in constant evolution. It's because I have lost a big chunk of myself and there's a really big empty space. And now I'm still learning how to quote unquote fill that void. So I'm just trying to find a way to live my life instead of just existing, which is what I feel like I'm doing now. And you know that is one of my biggest fears, but I feel stuck. I do things, but even things that I'm really passionate about, like writing my script or things like that, I just find myself dragging and not wanting to do things because I don't have the motivation. And I wake up, I'm fatigued, I am disengaged, and I'm just really trying to get out of it. And you've been a really, really big help. I do appreciate it. And I love you.
I love you too. And I think it's a process, right? It wouldn't also be healthy perhaps if, this happened so recently. If now you're like, okay, yeah, I just move on with my life and that's it. Like it doesn't work like that. And I think it's very brave that you even talk about it, open up, because I feel like a lot of people go through this, but no one talks about it. It's almost like there's this taboo on grief, and it's like literally something that everyone experiences in their life in one way or another.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that it's a very lonely process because you can support each other, you can have people around who are there for you, but still it's this emotion that you have to process and deal with
Yeah.
yourself. And how I see grief, I see it as love that doesn't have a place to go, because
Yeah.
if you didn't love someone, there wouldn't be grief, right? It shows that you have all this love for this person, and now you're like, what do I do with it? I think that's at least how I see and how I have experienced grief in my life. And I think the complexity of grief is as well that it can give you like a lot of sadness and heaviness. And as you said, like feeling sometimes that you don't even want to get out of bed. And at the same time, grief can also be this beautiful emotion because it actually shows you how much you loved someone. And that's something to be very grateful for, that there was actually this person in your life that you had so much love for, because that's also something that we don't always experience.
I also believe that grief is love that has nowhere to go.
Do you, looking back on these past 6 months, have you ever had a moment that you felt like maybe we shouldn't have moved here, or was this the right choice? Or do you feel like even despite everything that happened, the ups and downs, you're glad to be here? What does it feel like?
I never had that moment. No, because that's what I was saying at the beginning. Despite certain things, I still have to choose myself. If we had stayed in Europe, I wouldn't have been happier. I would not be happy. I could not stand living in the Netherlands anymore. And I also didn't want to live in Portugal. Now, in hindsight, I am really glad that I spent so much time in Lisbon, and then you spent so much time in Lisbon, because we created a lot of core memories with mundane moments that I can hold on to right now. These are the moments that I hold on to, but I'm still happy that I chose myself, that we chose ourselves, and that we were able to get back here. Have you had any regrets?
No, I think I feel the same way. Sometimes, especially when things like this happen, you wonder, did we make the right choice? But yeah, as you said, eventually you also have to live your own life and choose what you feel is best for you and move to a place where you feel like you can shine and feel better.
The
And
best version of yourself.
yeah, and I think if we live in this fear of whatever fear it might be, but let's now say this fear of losing someone, then yeah, like you can never live your life, right? Because it can happen at any moment, as we also experienced. And then yeah, you could basically never go anywhere, but then
Yeah.
you're also not living your life. It's almost like you have this prison or cage around you built by fear. And then what's the point of that, right? When I miss my family, or sometimes maybe even feel guilty about being far away, I always remind myself of these things, that I'm like, if someone I love would take this step to move somewhere else, I would also be happy for them. I wouldn't want them to stay in a place where they are not happy, right? I feel like everyone should go where they feel most alive and take the steps, whatever they want to do, whether it's moving places or traveling across the world or changing careers or whatever, it doesn't matter. But I would never want to hold someone else back. And I feel like that's also the same I would want for myself, and not looking back at my life someday and regretting the things that I haven't done because of whatever fear I might have had.
I think for me is I never want to stand in the way of someone else's greatness, but I also don't allow that. So like you were talking about, was it regret that you used?
Guilt
Guilt? Yeah.
and regret as well.
I don't feel any guilt about choosing myself and choosing the things that I want to do. I've known from an early age that there were some places that I could not feel happy or completely myself, or in a way that I had to be normal or held back because I would be too much. So I just said no. And that's one of those things that I always told myself at the end of the day, I am the one living my life. And if I live my life for somebody else, that is not me, that is not you, that is not like the family that one day we hope to raise and stuff, but like then I couldn't do it. Sometimes I speak with my mom and she needs some help, and my siblings can't do it or will do it later. And I feel bad for her, but I cannot feel guilty that I am not there to do it for her. And then, you know what I mean? You feel it?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I was just thinking if everyone would think like that, right? If everyone would put their own needs first, we would actually also be able to help others more because it's like filling your own cup first, right? Or what they say in the plane, put your own oxygen mask first. It's so easy for many of us. And I think in general, women have that even more than men, this wanting to take care of other people first before taking care of yourself. And sometimes it goes into people pleasing. There are different levels. But yeah, if you flip that around and make sure that you are okay first, then you also have the energy and
The
the
ability.
ability to be there for other people, because otherwise your own cup is empty or you don't have the oxygen from your oxygen mask, right? And then you won't be able to help anyone else anyway.
It's true.
Yeah. So we're also halfway in the year right now. What are you most looking forward to for the rest of this year?
I just want to feel a little better. Wake up and feel happy, not just smiling because I have to, or telling myself or telling people that I'm okay because I want to convince myself that I'm okay and all of that. Just some healing would be nice, would be good. Maybe you have something and then I'll think about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, that's definitely also healing. I think that never stops, to be honest. There's always things happening in life, and especially now, of course, but there's always more healing and
Hmm.
inner work to do. But besides that, I feel like when we moved here, I was in a really good flow and I was really embracing the energy of being here. And I had all these ideas. And that's also how I started the podcast and a community and all those things and ideas that I had been thinking about for years, but somehow didn't happen. Now all started to flow. And then when all of this happened, I lost that flow, and it has been taking time to process, to heal, to make sense of everything. And I feel like now I'm getting in a better place, finding the flow again, exercising more. I feel like I have more energy and slowly things are improving again. And I want to take that momentum with me into the next 6 months and feel like, okay, yeah, I want to keep on doing the podcast and all the other ideas and projects that I have for my business, but also attending events in Sydney, growing my network, meeting people, catching up with friends, also just enjoying life here. Because sometimes I feel like it's also easy to forget when we are going through healing, when we are busy with whatever we need to do with work or study and just being caught up in daily life. It's sometimes even easy to forget, okay, but we're living here now. We're living in Sydney, in this place we love. So sometimes I just need to remind myself of that and walk around, go to the opera house or one of those
To
things to get like a reality check and be like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm actually here.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's something I want to keep on doing. And as you know, I love going on beach walks and cliff walks. So those moments to, being very intentional with how I spend my time, that I'm not getting too caught up in
Okay.
in healing as well, because sometimes that's also something you can really get into a lot, right? And really be in your own bubble, and that's okay for a while, but it's also important to step out of that and embrace what's happening around you again.
Okay.
So I think that's my focus, at least for, let's say, the next few months.
I have something.
Okay.
I want to get my PADI license. I want to do better in school and feel like I'm flowing. I want to get back to acting projects. I want to finish my script and be able to sell it and produce it. There's a lot of things, but yeah, I think that's enough for now. And if I do that, if I can actually manage to do this, then I know that my soul and my body and my mind will start flowing better and get in a better shape.
Yeah, I like that. It also just reminds me that at the end of this month, if you're listening to this when it comes out, the end of June, I'm hosting a mid-year boost workshop in which we reflect on the last 6 months and also prepare ourselves as a reset towards the next 6 months of the year. So if you're listening to this and you're also reflecting on this question that we were just talking about of, okay, what do I actually want my next 6 months to look like? I will share the link in the show notes and you can check it out. And it would be great to have you there and join me live. Or if the time zone doesn't work out, which I can imagine since we're here in Australia, perhaps you're tuning in from somewhere else, you can also just watch the replay. To wrap up our conversation for today, is there anything you want to share that's still on your mind?
We just have to be true to our feelings. And most importantly, we cannot lie to ourselves, you know? If you're not feeling okay and someone asks you, if you don't want to speak with that person, then don't. But if you do, then tell them that you're not okay because odds are that they are going to want to stop and listen to you and that will help you. But you also don't know. Then that person can also tell you, oh my God, I'm also going through this and I don't have anyone to speak with. And the more open you are, the more surprised you will be with people. I mean, I'm very open about my mental health, you know that. And sometimes people tell me, like, I actually feel this way. Do you think I should search for therapy, some help, and all that? And, you know, just the more you open yourself, the more people you help.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And you are a teacher for me in that sense as well. You are someone who is very open and being okay to be vulnerable and what you said, to share things that other people might not want to share so openly. And I think that's very brave, but also inspirational. Sometimes we need to hear something like this from other people to feel like they are also going through this, or, oh, it's almost like you feel you have permission to feel it. Because I think often when we go through, especially when we go through difficult things in life, we start questioning ourselves of what you said before. Am I feeling too much, or should I just move on, or am I exaggerating, or yeah, maybe I'm just overreacting. And then when you actually hear or see someone else sharing about their experience, you realize, oh no, this is actually normal. It's okay to feel like this. And it's a reminder that we are all human beings having this human experience, feeling all the emotions. That's why we have them. And that it's okay to feel it all, and that it's okay to also talk about it, and that it's nothing to be ashamed of.
And as well, when you talk about something and people shut you down, not even wanting to listen or not having the time or things like that, and it shatters you, that feeling, you have to sit with that. But it's also a lesson that maybe this is a person that you should take a step back from, because that also raises your vibration and your energy. And sometimes we have to be okay with taking the clutter out of our lives. And that alone also brings space for new things, new people. Yeah.
You're also not opening up or being vulnerable to just everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Like you choose people you feel safe with, like the safe spaces. And what you said, if someone scatters that trust, then that's also a lesson. And you feel like, okay, no, this is a person I have to, yeah, set more boundaries with. Or, yeah, what you said, maybe that person doesn't fit in my life anymore.
I'm done with like, oh, I need to set more boundaries. I feel like if someone does something like that to me, I don't think you'll even get a response anymore.
Yes.
I'm a nice person, I swear.
Take with you what you want, of course, from from this episode. You don't have to agree with us, but if there's anything that sparked something in you that you found helpful, that perhaps was healing for you to hear as well, or something that really resonated with you. I would love to hear from you. You can leave a comment or a review. And this is not only great for us to connect, but it also helps me grow my podcast audience. And don't forget to follow and subscribe. Thank you so much again for listening, and I will see you in the next one.